alongside Trump in the Trump Organization in Trump Tower, working on the same floor as what Donald Trump did. And Donald Trump saying, well, I don't even know if I could identify him. I really don't know the guy. I don't even necessarily know what he looks like. Which, again, was no doubt another lie. But, he's made his own bet. And you also had Donald Trump Jr. at one point, who seemed like he very much wanted Russia's help with the election, with getting dirt on Hillary Clinton, the Russian lawyer who offered, and again, you get varying accounts, but who offered dirt on Hillary Clinton, that Donald Trump Jr., the email saying that if this was true, that he loved it. You had, of course, George Papadopoulos, who tried to set up some meetings with the Russians, and so on and so forth. And again, we'll see where this all goes. But what we had in Helsinki was we had Donald Trump and we had Vladimir Putin. And now what we have as well is we had Trump and we had Putin. We had this summit, fresh off the NATO summit, in which Donald Trump, again, I won't get into that too much, especially I've got about 13 and a half minutes here left to go. But it was, again, take your pick. It was a mixed bag, and let's leave it at that. I happen to think it wasn't such a big success for him, but naturally, in his words, everything he does is a big success. But anyway, he goes from that, he goes to Helsinki, Finland, excuse me, and he meets with Putin. And he meets with Putin privately, without any aides. Now you have the Democrats who are saying that we need to subpoena, or we need to require that some kind of a transcript, that actually the translator, that we get him to come to Congress and testify, because we need to know what was said. Since it was a private meeting, we need to make sure that Donald Trump didn't completely sell us out or promise Vladimir Putin the world. Now, make no mistake about it, the Democrats don't necessarily care about this as a group. Individually, they don't necessarily care about this. This is what politics in this country are all the time. This is about opposing Trump for the benefit of their base and for the benefit of the midterm elections in November. That's all this is. They don't care. They've never cared. I'm not going to say every single one of them, but it's about, for our votes, for our politicians who will be running for office again this year and in years to come. As long as this guy's in office, we have to do everything we can publicly to oppose him. It's the same old game. It was the same with Obama. The Republicans, as a group, were happy to offer public opposition to Obama, but very, very rarely did they do anything substantial to oppose him or to stop him. And again, sadly, very rarely probably did they even really care all that much. The dirty secret to politics, and I've said this, or I said this recently, I said this actually yesterday on my Facebook page, on my personal timeline. The thing about it is, because I was talking to somebody, and she said, well, Donald Trump had my vote because I remember Hillary Clinton's crimes. I'm old enough to remember the Clinton crimes. And it was a very open, respectful discussion back and forth. But I said, it really doesn't matter at this point, because it doesn't matter if you've got a Republican Congress. It doesn't matter if you've got a Democrat Congress. It doesn't matter if you've got a Republican president. It doesn't matter if you have a Democrat president. What are the two things that absolutely, positively always happen? And look, there's pet issues, if you will, that these presidents, they may throw out kind of the bread and crumbs to keep the base engaged and to keep the base hopeful, where we'll either try to do something to stop abortion here, or we'll do something to try to open up more abortions here. We'll do something to limit the fictitious, made-up, out-of-thin-air LGBT special rights, or we'll do something to expand the made-up, out-of-thin-air LGBT special rights. Again, not constitutional rights, mind you, special rights, privileged rights. But the two things that always happen are, and you can check this out, what have we been hearing for some time now? We've been hearing about record tax revenues coming in. I mean, more money coming into the government than ever before. It happened under Obama. It's happening under Trump. And yet, what else are we hearing? The deficits continue to go up, or at least they're not going down, or at least we're still in the negative. The debt continues to climb. Government's wasting our money no matter who's in charge of Congress, no matter who sits in the Oval Office. The other thing that happens is we continue to get involved overseas in wars that we don't need to be involved in, doing things that we're lying about. You know, the war in Syria, and I don't mean to get completely off the subject, but again, I think it's important just to talk a little politics here. The war in Syria isn't about ISIS. I mean, last I heard, ISIS was supposedly pretty much wiped out or inconsequential there. And yet, we recently had this story that 54 people or thereabouts, all civilians, killed in a Syrian city that supposedly was to get ISIS, but the people there said ISIS really has no influence or no base there. That what it was about was that the when it was an American-led strike, airstrike, reportedly, and what it was about was the people in that city wouldn't cooperate with our forces there, with our allies there. They wouldn't kind of let them in. They refused that, and then that city was hit, and you had 54 people killed. And now you got John Bolton, as I saw at World Events in the Bible, talking about, well, we will be in Syria until the Iranian presence goes away. And I like how Brandon put it. Eventually it's going to be, well, there's too much sand in Syria. That's why we're still there. It's not about ISIS. It's about trying to put the pressure on Assad, trying to get him out so they can get somebody else in who will go along with what they want. But anyway, we had Trump and we had Putin meeting, and then we get to the press conference, and you get to Trump's statements, and I of course want to zoom in on, or I want to focus in on kind of the statement that has been so controversial, so much in the news, and that he's been so heavily criticized on. I'm going to read it here, the full statement in context. I have time to do that, I think. We still got about a little under 7 minutes. I'll go as quickly as I can. But he was asked about the Russian interference, and this was his answer. He says, so let me say that we have two thoughts. You have groups wondering why the FBI never took the server. Why haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months, and I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know where is the server and what is the server saying? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. People came to me. Dan Coates came to me, and some others, and said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server, but I have confidence in both parties. So in other words, playing both sides of the fence, being a wuss when it comes down to it. Being weak. I really believe this will probably go on for a while, but I don't think it can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What happened to the servers of the Pakistan gentleman that worked on the DNC? Where are the servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? 33,000 emails gone. Just gone. Oh, they're gone. Okay, sorry. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace that we can't get Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. Now, clip ends with I have great faith. Now, again, but what did he say here? And first of all, even going back, he blamed the United States as much or more And that's what upset people too. He blamed the United States as much or more than what he did Russia for the bad relationship, if you will. Said that the United States has been foolish. And he reiterated. He tried to say Russia was kind of at fault, but he reiterated that the United States has been foolish. And, I seem to remember, and again, coming from a conservative guy, let's not get it twisted. I seem to remember people jumping all over Obama's case for what they called an apology tour in the Middle East, in which he went to Arab countries, to Muslim countries. I think it was primarily in Egypt, if not entirely in Egypt. And he said the United States has been arrogant at times. We've been this or that. We've been such a bad country, such a bad people. We've been bullies. We act like we're better than everybody else. And he was ripped up and down by the conservative media for showing weakness, for showing, kind of throwing America under the bus. And here we have President Trump essentially throwing America under the bus, standing side by side with Putin. And while there were some Republicans in Congress who criticized him, from what I understand, conservative media, now Fox News, amazingly, did criticize him to a degree, but a lot of your Limbaughs, your Hannitys, they went into spin mode. They talked, they provided cover for this president when they made a killing out of talking about the apology tour that Obama went on. And then he goes out and he says again that, well, I don't see why Russia would have done this, or I don't see how it could be Russia. And then, of course, the next day, after he comes out, after he says, or after he takes so much heat for saying, well, I don't see why it would be Russia, he comes out and says, no, I didn't say that, or I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say was that I don't see why it wouldn't be Russia. Well, that doesn't quite fly to people who are using their brains a little bit. He's standing there beside Putin after they supposedly had this mutually great press conference. And especially when you know Donald Trump a little bit, when you've studied him just a little bit, you understand that he tells people what they want to hear. He'll tell one crowd something, and then he'll tell a crowd on the other side of the issue something 180 degrees different. And he is weak, and he is cowardly. And, then we get today, and apparently he's saying today that, well, Russia, they're not going to interfere, they're not going to hack, they're not going to be involved anymore, and we can just take Russia's word for that, we can take his word for that. I'm going to post on American Faith today, as I'm running out of time here, I'm going to post, too, an interesting article I saw online. I was trying to post a YouTube video from Bradley Dean that kind of, that I saw on the same message board, that kind of gives a good rundown of politics in the country at this point, and how we're all deceived, and how we all get in these petty squabbles that basically just divide us, and that's all for a purpose. But I also want to post a little bit of an article about apparently John Kelly putting the pressure on Republicans in Congress to really give Trump hell over this. But anyway, that's about all the time that I have. Unfortunately, I wish I could go a little bit further with this. I feel like there's still stuff missing, stuff unsaid, and probably explaining my car woes, car misadventures probably didn't help. But that did tell you a little bit about what's going on, or what was going on. Hopefully I'll be able to do a podcast a little bit more frequently, or try to anyway. I will post this when and where I can. In the meantime, the big thing, don't put too much faith in this president. Don't put too much faith in any president or any man. I'm no fan of him, but the big thing, understand that man's not going to get us out of our problem. God is. And, man doesn't destroy globalism. God does. Anyway, I'm Jason Hawes. This has been American Faith Today. Take care. Have a great night, a great week. God bless everybody.